Hello and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shujar and these are the headlines. At least 32 people died and 66 injured after two passenger trains collided in southern Egypt. It was not immediately clear what caused one train to crash into the back of the other. Myanmar security forces have shot dead 3 more protesters in MYANMAR, raising the death toll from the crackdown on the anti-coup protesters to over 300. But they also released another 300 prisoners who were detained after the February 1st coup. In Bangladesh's capital, Dhaka, dozens of people have been injured in violent protest against Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the country. A protesting leader said clashes erupted after police used rubber bullets and tear gas on the peaceful student protest. The protesters criticized Modi's anti-Muslim policies and called him the butcher of Gujarat. Pakistan has conducted successful flight test of Shaheen-1A surface-to-surface ballistic missile, having a range of 900 kilometers. The military's media wing says the test flight was aimed at revalidating various design and technical parameters of the weapon system. The President, Prime Minister of Pakistan, and services chiefs have congratulated the scientists and engineers on successful missile test. Brazil has registered a record 100,000 coronavirus infections in a day, with its caseload crossing 11.7 million. Mexico has become the third country in the world to top 200,000 COVID-19 deaths. Pakistan has registered over 4,000 infections, the highest in 9 months, while 63 more people died from the virus overnight. The global number of coronavirus cases has surpassed 125 million, with more than 2.7 million deaths. And in tennis, Croatia's Marin Cilic has advanced to the second round of the Miami Open after beating Argentina's Frederica Cora 6-3, 2-6, and 6-4. Meanwhile, British teenager Jack Draper's ATP Tour debut ended abruptly during his match against Kazakhstan's Mikhail Kukushkin. Draper collapsed on the court due to dehydration during the first set, which lasted 81 minutes. For more news in detail, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. At least 32 people have died and 66 injured after two passenger trains collided in southern Egypt. It was not immediately clear what caused one train to crash into the back of the other. The health ministry said 3 carriages of a train derailed after the collision in the province of Sohag. Rescue efforts are underway. The accident comes 2 years after a major collision in Cairo left at least 24 people dead. In Myanmar, 3 more anti-coup activists have been killed after security forces opened fire on protesters in MYANMAR. According to an advocacy group, more than 300 people have been killed since the military seized power on the 1st of February. In Mandalay Lungunlon district, protesters marched in front of a civil disobedience movement banner, while candlelit protests took place overnight at the Sa-Aging regions, as well as in the Karen and Chin states. This comes as Myanmar authorities released nearly 300 anti-coup activists from a prison in Yangon. This is in addition to previously 1,000 freed prisoners. Meanwhile, the World Bank has warned that the country's economy is expected to contract by 10% this year amid the turmoil. In Bangladesh's capital, Dhaka, dozens of people have been injured in violent protest against Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the country. A protesting leader said clashes erupted after police used rubber bullets and tear gas on the peaceful student protest. The protesters criticized Modi's anti-Muslim policies and called him the butcher of Gujarat. A spokesperson for the march said 2,000 student protesters joined the demonstration. Police have arrested several protesters and 18 are hospitalized with injuries. Prime Minister Modi arrived in Dhaka today as the country celebrates 50 years of its liberation. Earlier in a letter, Prime Minister Imran Khan congratulated his Bangladeshi counterpart, Sheikh Hasina, on the country's 50th Independence Day. In India, the protesting farmers are observing nationwide strike after blocking main roads, railway tracks, markets, and businesses. The strike marks 4 months of farmers' agitation against the BJP government's 3 controversial farm laws. The 12-hour blockade has greatly affected Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh states. Additional contingents of police force have already been deployed in the wake of the shutdown call. Opposition leader Rahul Gandhi has also announced to support the farmers' Bharat Bandh protests. 11 rounds of talks between farmers and the government have failed to end the deadlock. More than 250 growers have died since the start of the agitation on the 26th of November last year. Pakistan has successfully conducted the flight test of a surface-to-surface ballistic missile. The media wing of the military said the missile Shaheen-1A has a range of 900 kilometers. It said the test flight was aimed at revalidating designs and technical parameters of a weapon system. The President, Prime Minister, and services chiefs congratulated scientists and engineers on successful missile test. The Arab coalition in Yemen has intercepted another Houthi drone over Saudi city Najran. This comes after Houthis attacked Saudi state oil-owned company Aramco's vital installation in Jazan. Saudi Energy Ministry said one of the reservoirs at the petroleum products distribution station caught fire after the attack. The coalition says it has also destroyed 9 explosive-laden drones fired towards different Saudi cities by Houthis. It added that some drones were aimed at the universities of Jazan and Najran. Meanwhile, Pakistan condemned the attacks and reaffirmed support for Riyadh against any threat to its territorial integrity. Earlier, the U.S. lauded the Yemeni government's support for a nationwide ceasefire. North Korea has claimed the missiles it launched Thursday were a new type tactical guided projectile. Under the UN Security Council resolutions, Pyongyang is banned from testing ballistic missiles.
North Korea's senior leader Ri Pyong-chol, who oversaw the test, said, "The new weapon system is of great significance in bolstering deterrence against all sorts of military threats." Pyongyang state media said the weapon system's warhead weight has been improved to 2.5 tons. This makes the missile capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. It said the 2 missiles accurately hit the target, set in the water 600 kilometers off the east coast into the Sea of Japan. The missiles were the country's first ballistic launches in almost a year and the first since U.S. President Joe Biden took office. Biden said the U.S. remained open to diplomacy with North Korea, despite its missile tests, but warned there would be responses if Pyongyang escalates matters.
China says it has imposed sanctions on British individuals and entities that spread lies and disinformation about Xinjiang. In a statement, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said the curbs target 4 entities and 9 individuals. Those targeted include former Conservative Party leader Lane Duncan Smith and Conservative Party Human Rights Commission. These individuals and their family members are banned from entering Chinese territory or doing business with Chinese citizens and institutions. Beijing warned London of more of such measures if it chooses to go further down the wrong path. The move follows a coordinated set of sanctions imposed by the U.S., the EU, UK, and Canada against China. Germany has extended its mission in Afghanistan as part of a NATO mission until January 31st, 2022. Lawmakers approved a new mandate which allows the German military to keep up to 1,300 troops in the country. The extension goes beyond an April 30th deadline that the U.S. agreed with the Taliban for the withdrawal of forces. The new U.S. government is still reviewing the agreement, so it is not yet clear how long NATO troops will stay. The German government has warned that a premature withdrawal of NATO troops could jeopardize peace talks. It added that NATO troops would need to prepare for Taliban violence if they stay beyond April. Brazil has registered a record 100,000 COVID-19 infections in a day, with a caseload crossing 11.7 million. Mexico has become the third country in the world to top 200,000 deaths from the virus. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 2.7 million lives and infected 125 million people. More about the virus in this report.
The second spring surge of the coronavirus pandemic has taken the world by storm. Even though the U.S. claims to be running a smooth and effective inoculation drive, cases in the country continue to swell. President Joe Biden says he will double his vaccination goal to 20 million shots during the first 100 days of his administration. The U.S. has also announced $15 million in coronavirus aid to Palestine, a sharp reversal in policy from the Trump administration. In Canada, Moderna has delayed 500,000 vaccine doses due to a backlog in the quality assurance process. The Brazilian variant is now battering Latin America as nations witness the deadliest spikes in cases.
A sampling taken throughout Lima showed that the main variant today in Lima, at almost 40%, is Brazilian variant. We identified it in Loreto. We identified it in other places also. Weeks ago, we identified just one case of this variant in Lima that was controlled, but now we have from the sampling 40% of the cases produced by the Brazilian variant.
In Europe, the third wave of infections is now raging, with the B.1.1.7 variant dominating new infections. French authorities have announced to put 3 additional regions under tightened restrictions for 4 weeks. EU leadership has agreed to step up the production of vaccines in Europe amid a vaccine export row with the UK. The bloc's chief has called on AstraZeneca to catch up on its promised deliveries to the EU before exporting doses elsewhere.
We have to and want to explain to our European citizens that they get their fair share. And therefore, the second principle is that companies have to honor their contract to the European Union before they export to other regions in the world. And this is, of course, the case with AstraZeneca.
In Asia, COVID-19 is once again ravaging India, infecting a whopping 100,000 people over the past 6 days. South Korea has again extended social distancing rules for 2 weeks as daily new cases hit a 1-month high.
Pakistan has recorded the highest rise in new coronavirus cases in a single day since July 2020. The Health Ministry reported more than 4,000 infections in the past 24 hours. The new cases take the national positivity ratio to 10.3%. Officials say 63 more people lost their lives overnight. The death toll is approaching 14,100. Nationwide, more than 645,000 people have been infected during the pandemic, of which some 591,000 people have recovered. The ministry says more than 2,700 people are in critical condition across the country. In India, 10 people have died in a fire that engulfs a mall housing a hospital treating coronavirus patients in Mumbai city. Officials said more than 70 patients with COVID-19 infections have also been evacuated. Authorities say the rescue operation is still underway and the cause of the fire is being investigated. It is not clear yet if any of the victims were COVID-19 patients. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Turkey says it welcomes the rhetoric in the memorandum adopted by EU leaders at a virtual summit. In a statement, Ankara said it wishes to boost ties with the bloc based on cooperation and mutual benefit. The Foreign Ministry said Turkey expects the EU to take concrete and constructive steps in line with a positive agenda. Earlier, the EU said it is prepared to boost cooperation with Turkey, provided a current de-escalation is sustained. In a statement, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said this is subject to Turkey moving forward constructively. She said if Ankara returns to unilateral actions, particularly in the eastern Mediterranean, EU will suspend cooperation measures. Meanwhile, in a phone call to the Greek Prime Minister, U.S. President Joe Biden expressed hope for stability in the eastern Mediterranean. Addis Ababa says Eritrea has agreed to withdraw troops from the Ethiopian territory along their border. In a statement, the Prime Minister said Ethiopian forces will take over guarding the border areas immediately. Abiy Ahmed said the two countries will continue building on the understanding reached in 2018. The Prime Minister accused former Tigray leaders of drawing Eritrea into the conflict by firing rockets into Eritrea's capital. This comes days after Abiy Ahmed acknowledged the Eritrean troops were present in the northern region. The admission followed months of denials from Addis Ababa and Asmara. Renowned Pakistani dramatist and writer Hasina Moin has passed away in Karachi at the age of 79. The cause of her death was not immediately announced. Moin was a breast cancer survivor and held several accolades under her belt. She was awarded the Pride of Performance by the Pakistani government for her services to the performing arts. She also holds the distinction of penning Pakistan's first original script, Kiran Kahani, in 1970s. Pakistan's television host, anchor and artist Naval Nasir has passed away at the age of 70 in Islamabad. She was one of two anchors who were part of Pakistan Television's first ever transmission in 1964. Naval Nasir was suffering from diabetes and was admitted to the intensive care unit for the last 3 days. She has been awarded Pride of Performance and other numerous national awards in recognition of her services. The death toll from the deadly winter storm in the U.S. state of Texas has climbed up to 111. The Texas Department of State Health Services said that most of the victims fell prey to hypothermia. The death toll is expected to rise further as officials investigate the causes of death associated with the storm. Over 4 million Texans went without electricity and drinking water for days due to sub-freezing temperatures. The latest toll now officially exceeds Hurricane Harvey in 2017, which claimed 68 lives in the Lone Star State. The harsh winter conditions also led to the deaths in neighboring southern states, including Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee. In the U.S., at least 5 people have died as several powerful tornadoes tore through northern Alabama state. Emergency services say the twisters also left dozens of people injured and destroyed entire neighborhoods. They said the tornadoes downed trees and power lines, leaving tens of thousands of people without power. Authorities remain unsure of the full extent of the damage as the severe weather inhibits search and rescue efforts. Authorities have warned that a large severe weather cell will continue battering Alabama with high-velocity winds, hail, and tornadoes. African elephants living in forests and savannas are increasingly threatened with extinction. They are on a red list of species in trouble, prompting conservationists to call for an urgent end to poaching. More in this report.
A new assessment by the International Union for Conservation of Nature underscores persistent pressures faced by the 2 species of elephants in Africa. In a survey, the Swiss-based body raised alarm over the possible extinction due to rising ivory hunting.
These results are due to decline in numbers that have been observed over several decades, with forest elephant declining by 86% over a period of 31 years, and savanna elephants declining by 60% over a period of 50 years.
Loss of habitat has also become an increasing threat.
With regards to the land issues, land degradation, habitat loss, those ones are things that need more focus because it's a silent killer. It happens in a way that people don't realize.
Despite the overall decline, some populations of forest elephants were rebounding due to successful conservation measures by Gabon and the Republic of Congo.
Bolivians marked the traditional Aymara festival of ALASITA, with the event getting a COVID twist. Locals snapped up tiny vaccines, little negative tests, and gels in hopes the Aymara gods get them through the pandemic. This report will tell you more.
ALASITA, which means buy me in the Aymara language, sees people buying lucky charms related to their wishes for the year. A local artisan fair accompanies the festival in La Paz with stalls dealing in miniatures. The tradition establishes that people should purchase a miniature of the one thing they need the most during the coming year.
Because of the pandemic, the ALASITA festival was delayed. Now we have all health measures in place, even with the echo course. We had adapted it with a face mask, antibacterial gel, so to disinfect it. Faith, like in all years with Ekoko, the god of abundance, to whom we ask of everything and to buy everything with a lot of faith.
Those hoping for professional or educational success could buy mini certificates denoting various achievements and qualifications, whereas those wanting to marry can find mini rings or wedding certificates. Thanks to COVID-19 vaccines, many South Americans are hoping that the pandemic will soon be over.
I asked for good health. I asked for the things that we all ask for: money, a house, other things. For us, the most important thing is our health and our loved ones, and for hopefully this pandemic to be just a bad memory.
This year, many bought mini COVID vaccines in the hope that they are not far from getting vaccinated.
Bourses in the Asia-Pacific region are trading higher. Investor confidence has been boosted by U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's remarks. Powell said the economic recovery is expected to be faster than expected due to accelerated vaccine distribution. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index is leading the gains, jumping over 1.5%. Stocks in mainland China have also ascended over 1.5%. The Nikkei 225 in Japan added nearly 1.5%, while Seoul's Kospi has gained over 1%. Meanwhile, the ASX 200 in Australia has also gained close to 0.5%. It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at indus.news.